What we're going to suggest doing, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Eames, is to, I think all of you have the contract, and I'm here to answer any questions about that contract. Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
That's all right.
Okay.
You just called me Ms. Eames, and I haven't heard that for a long time, so I was just wondering what happened.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions that you may have concerning in the contracts, which you have had since last week. We put in your boxes last week. And what we would suggest doing, and I know all of you know what the terms of that contract are. At this point, there's still other obligations that so far as the Gaming Commission is concerned, other investigations that need to be completed by the Gaming Commission, etc. And what we would ask that you do is to go ahead, and unless you have any disagreement with the contract in principle, is to go ahead and authorize the mayor to sign this contract at the appropriate time. And that the appropriate time in this case will be at the time the issuance of the license occurs. And that is after all the other considerations by the commission is done, and with the understanding that if any changes are to be made in this, if there are any minor changes that need to be worked out, that we will come back to you to work those items out before the matter is finally signed at that time.
Councilman Wilson, you still have the floor.
Mr. Ponder, I'm not trying to delve in. I just want to, that the understanding is that there may be and there are some minor changes that some people have reservations, not that if there is that there are some minor changes or reservations some people hold, and before the contract is signed, it will come back to the council for final approval. In concept, we agree with the contract to support.
Yes, sir. That's my understanding.
But the only other thing I'm trying to make sure is that we do understand that the contract will not be signed until some minor reservations are talked about and discussed, and no one has the authority to sign the contract until after that comes back and does that.
Exactly. You want, and also that the license will be issued also. So.
Okay, Councilman Wilson, are you through?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Glasper?
Madam Chair and members of the council, I appreciate the mayor and also the council members from allowing this item to be heard, because I really have to leave as soon as this item is discussed. I've been on the road for some time now, traveling with my business, and I did a little work in trying to look at this proposal, a contract on Monday, picked it up. I know it was sent to the boxes on Friday. I didn't get a copy until Monday on the way out of town. One of the things I'd like to start off by saying that, first of all, to the council members, it's been some time now, this thing's been discussed and debated, and I'll talk at length, and I'll try to be as brief as possible so we can get on to some more important things. But it's been some time now since we've been considering the riverboats in the downtown area. There's been a lot said about it, and basically the council has been kept out of the process. And being the elected official who will serve in this area, and who have kind of stood on the sideline to see that both of these boats being forced in the downtown area, and it's going to affect two areas. One, as president, will affect the Spanish Town, the other one with the Beauregard Town areas. And it's some great concerns. One of the things that I went on record early on in the process, and I want to say to Jazz that I am not against Jazz project. I think it's an excellent project. I think the revitalization of Catfish Town will be a boost arm for the local economy, to create jobs, to give entrepreneurs an opportunity to go into business and to make a decent living. But I also think that there are some questions that we have to ask ourselves as elected officials. And those questions are, should the government get involved in the hotel business? Should we lease a parking lot to anybody, or can we lease a parking lot? I've done extensive study on this particular item, and I like to start by saying that there's some natural laws, and sometimes when I say things people may not understand, but I try to use illustrations to let you know exactly the way I feel and try to make you see more vividly what I'm talking about. Natural laws are laws that man cannot alter or change, and for centuries now, politicians, Congress, elected bodies around this country have tried to change those natural laws. And to me, I brought out the point early on that the natural law of supply and demand, if a hotel is needed downtown, then we should let the natural laws take care of themselves. and not try to force a gaming operator or any other private company to build a hotel, since we have it in our master plan or plans or things that we should do. I think those natural laws will take care of themselves. Many years ago, after World War II, Congress decided that they would impose a 10% surcharge on convertible automobiles. Now, this may sound, you may not follow my train of thought, but it's a natural law. Congress was looking to create additional taxes, and so they wanted to put a surcharge on convertibles, and they did. And over the objection of those who manufactured the automobiles and those who were wealthy enough at that time in the late 40s to purchase such an expensive automobile. And the natural laws took effect, and the manufacturers stopped building them, people stopped buying them, and Congress stopped, the federal government stopped receiving the money. And they then took the surcharge off. Also, you heard 4 or 5 years ago of the luxury tax, when Congress decided to put the luxury tax on individuals on boats, expensive automobiles over a certain price, and then they found out the survey a couple of years later that the individuals who was purchasing those items was wealthy enough that they were going to purchase something else. And the federal government lost money because they were trying to change a natural law. And then just recently, a couple of years ago, our former colleagues did the same thing in Catfish Town. Tried to change the natural law of supply and demand, went out and spent $100 million of taxpayer money, entered into contracts with private companies, and they put a big marketing plan on, and all of a sudden you had Catfish Town. And then Catfish Town folded because of those natural laws. If you flip a quarter up in the air, it's going to have to come down because the natural laws take effect, doesn't it? Even though the council or the Congress or anybody else vote to keep that quarter up in the air, the natural laws will take care of itself. What I'm saying today to you, that once again, we find ourselves starting to mess with natural laws, starting to tell a private industry that to build a hotel is what we want or what we think is in the best interest of this government and the constituents and those who are concerned. And the whole concept in itself, on its face, to me, have a conflict of interest. And I simply say because government has imposed a tax on the hotel and motel association, or those who own hotels and motels in Louisiana and also in East Baton Rouge Parish, that they pay 10% or to pay a percentage. And I don't want to be erroneous in my statements, but a percentage to government. And then now we're about to join them and go into business with them after imposing the tax. And to me, that's a conflict of interest. So if we do indeed approve this contract today, then we need to look at repealing that and returning that back so that they then can compete and to grow themselves, because I don't think we ought to be taxing people and then getting into business and competing against them. Then there's the idea of a feasibility study. No one's done a feasibility study that I've seen. No one can say that the statistics show that a hotel will make it in the downtown area. We had 2 hotels blown up, the Inn on the Lake, and then the Capitol House has been closed for some time. And then we also have one about 1.5 miles away from here, the Ramada Inn, national known hotel right off the interstate on Nicholson Drive, right down from Louisiana State University, is basically with low occupancy. And so that creates a problem. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I just think that the contract on its face, and I've read the contract, and I'll get into about 5 modifications of the contract, and then basically I'm through with the riverboat gaming. If the council deemed necessary that you think you should pass this, I think it's a bad idea. I think that we should look at doing some things with the old dock that would generate approximately $2 million. That's property that we own. Something that we should be marketing.
Mr. Glasper?
Yes, ma'am.
When it comes to the modifications of the contract, what Mr. Ponder said earlier is that there will be modifications to the contract and it will not be signed until after the Gaming Commission votes. You can certainly present them today, but I think it would probably be just as appropriate to present them to the mayor and the parish attorney in the interim.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
If I may, Madam Chairman, I would like...
If Councilman Glasper will yield to you.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
In reference to Councilman Glasper's proposed changes of the contract, if there's going to be any changes later on in the future, And if these changes that he has in his hand may be incorporated in the contract, I think it's appropriate if he reads them down, let the full council hear it, due to the fact that that we're going to approve or disapprove off on the contract. Before I disapprove or approve off on it, I would like to know what variations are going to be in there and also what changes may come about.
Yeah, well, they would come back to the council first. Go ahead, Councilman.
I'm going to be very brief on this. I got an opportunity to do some modification. I have one copy that I printed out. I don't have my printer with me, and if someone, Don, want to make a copy, he can get a copy for all the council members. One of the things I think as you look through the contract, and from reading it on the airplane, I got an opportunity to look at page 2. If you follow me with your contract that you have, it's just 4 or 5 pages, and you can go directly to the paragraph. Page 2, paragraph 1, it says the additional $25% passengers per passenger for 2 years, beginning from the date of the riverboat gaming operation, shall not be used for any other purpose other than improvements in a 2-mile radius from the Centroplex, and shall not be placed in any general fund account. And I think that amendment is, I like to make, that is on page 2. If you look at paragraph 1, it says beginning from the date of riverboat gaming operations, it talks about $2.50 per passenger, and then you go down for the extra $1.25. And the other $1.25 will be if indeed we do sign a contract, and until a riverboat, a convention-sized hotel is built, then they will be assessed $1.25 per passenger additionally. And what the constituents in the downtown area has said that because they're going to be affected from both areas, then they would like to see the $1.25 passenger fee put in a special account to address those necessary problems. Also on page 2 and paragraph 2, if you go down, it talks about the hotel, and it specifies that a hotel would be built 1/2 mile of Catfish Town. Well, the amendment says that this 400-room hotel shall be constructed within a 2-mile radius of the Centroplex. And I don't know where they come up with the 1/2 mile, and other than the fact that I think it's already, when I don't want to use the word deal, but I can simply tell you, you're cutting out a lot of landowners, or those who would like to get into motel business if and when it becomes feasible and have the land to do it. There are individuals who own land on the River Road that's contacted myself, as well on Nicholson Drive and on Highland Road, that says that if indeed riverboats are here and the market deems necessary, they would like to be included and not excluded out of the process. And so that's why I come up with the 2-mile radius of the Centroplex. Page 3, paragraph 2. The construction of a convention-sized hotel in a 2-mile radius of Catfish Town, Centroplex, and downtown will satisfy Jazz's obligation with the city and parish of East Baton Rouge. And that is to say that if indeed a convention-sized hotel is built in a 2-mile radius, then Jazz would have met that obligation. Page 3, paragraph 2. The RFP process will call for a convention-sized hotel with a minimum of 400 rooms to be located within 2 miles of the Centroplex in downtown. This project must be let through public bids. My research have shown that when the Twin Towers was discussed, I think the Chamber of Commerce, other individuals in the business community, became unglued because of the RFP process. I think that the RFP process, when you look at it on its face, you give an individual an opportunity to choose who they would like to give the project to. Also, on the same page, on page 4, paragraph 2, if the city of Baton Rouge and the parish of East Baton Rouge reject all bids, at that time, Jazz will have met their obligation with the city of Baton Rouge. The mayor of the city of Baton Rouge will issue no further request for bids for this project. If you follow on the bottom page 4, where you have underlined, it says, in the event all RFPs are rejected, the mayor president shall for one more time use his best efforts to have the city reissue and request for proposals. Now, I don't know who wrote the language or where the language comes, but that don't sound right. I think if all bids are rejected from the beginning, that we ought not to be twisting arms and breaking backs trying to get it to who we want to get it to, and that's just what it sounds for as I'm concerned in the business arena. I think when you reject all bids and you can't get it to who you want to get it to, you need to find a better way to word that, and that's why I said what I said here. Page 5, paragraph 5, Jazz commit to fund a transportation system connecting all major points within a 2-mile radius of the Centroplex. I think that when you on page 5, paragraph 4, or paragraph 5. If you commit to do a transportation system in a 1-mile areas, you are basically cutting out those individuals who have contacted us and said they would like to put together some park and ride facilities, because the fact that the downtown is going to be crowded. If you're going to build a hotel, you're going to take away the parking lot, additional parking on the Centralplex parking lot. We already are strapped for parking downtown, and then we can come up with the concept of park and ride. They will convert their properties about 2 miles from here. Those fields that you see going toward the Horse Activity Center can be converted into park and ride facilities with gates, and 2 miles out they can then to be bused down about 2 miles to the hotel and also to the riverboats. And that's why we've come up with that on page 5. And then I think I have 2 more amendments. One is on page 5, paragraph 6. In here, it says minority participation shall reflect at minimum the ratio of minority residents in the city of Baton Rouge. And that is because in here, they talk about at minimum the ratio of the minority makeup in the parish of East Baton Rouge. And I think because riverboats are going to be located downtown, I don't think that we ought to be judging those who are in the African American community from those who participate in or who live in the parish of East Baton Rouge rather than the city. Because as we look at the city, we know that 70% of all African Americans live within the boundaries of the city limits, and only 30-some% are stretched out over the parish. And when you use the word makeup, we can make African Americans up any kind of way. Makeup of lawyers, black doctors, black housekeepers, or anything you wanted to. I think we ought to be talking about registered voters or residents, and that's why I went in and clearly defined the word residents. And I think the last amendment that I would like to see made to it is on page 6, paragraph 8. Jazz shall select and offer to qualified merchants rent-free space therein for a period of up to 18 months and with economically priced rental agreements or leases thereafter, as mutually agreed to by Jazz and the select local merchants. These benefits shall be offered to minority merchants in the same ratio as the ratio of minority merchants in the city of Baton Rouge, and once again, we excluded the parish. So as I look through it, I think it's if you want to sign it, I don't think you ought to sign it at all, but if you want to sign it, I think you should sign it with the modification and the changes that I've submitted to you. And those things can be debated and discussed, and we'll move forward.
Mayor McHugh.
Ms. Ames and members of the committee, council, excuse me, I was trying to make some notes so I could be organized in my presentation back to you. Darrell raised a number of questions and issues, and I'd like to respond to some of them. Some of them would be, I think, more appropriately discussed and considered over the next few months as we try to work out the arrangements of what the final contract might look like. The question of whether the council has been left out or not. I can personally recall many reports that were made back to this council during the entire process. Every important issue, every important move that has been made by this government has been approved by council action. Every important issue. The City Parish Council's attorney's office, Mike Ponder and Mike Stemmons, have been the point people on this entire issue. They have basically handled this issue. And as far as I know, they work for the council. So I believe that the issue of council involvement is a bogus issue, that you have been totally involved, that you have been completely involved, that you have had the opportunity to have input throughout the entire process, and I just don't believe that's a legitimate issue. The question, should we get involved in a hotel business? I would remind the council that the person that raised that question voted for the Horizon Plan. And in the Horizon Plan itself, it begged for a hotel downtown. The issues of politicians and the laws, the natural laws, contrary to what was said, a feasibility study has been done. It was funded, as you can recall, through a major cost of about $50,000 In fact, we found out that we were about $14 million short of being in a financial position to do that, and that was prior to the riverboat issue. In our conversations with Jazz and others, not only was it stated to us that if the process is successful, 400 rooms will not be near enough for the crowds that they hope to attract in downtown Baton Rouge. So as a conflict of interest with the hotel-motel business, hotel-motel owners are the people who have signed off on this, along with the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Development District, Visitors and Convention Bureau, and this council itself. So I think that the issue of messing with the laws, contrary to messing with the laws, we're following the natural laws of supply and demand, and that we're understanding that if the riverboat industry is to be successful in downtown Baton Rouge, that will create restaurants, that will create the need for hotel space, that will create the need for all types of retail outlets downtown. That will be the supply that will, and the demand that will make the system work, contrary to what anything that has been said. I think that if we look at the issue of the development of downtown, it has been considered by those that have studied it, whether it was a 2000 report that was made some years ago, or whether it was a downtown riverfront development study, which included the hotel in it, whether it was a Horizon program. All the professional studies have stated that we needed a downtown hotel to anchor the growth and development of downtown Baton Rouge. I think that the bottom line is that what you're asked to do today is simply move this process forward with no commitments to the fact of exactly how the contract will read, because there's plenty of room for adjustments in the future, and it's all subject to the council coming back at some point, if there are any amendments to be made, and approving those amendments before I ever sign the contract. And that contract cannot be signed until and unless the State Riverboat Gaming Commission actually gives them a license. And this business about picking and choosing and cutting deals and making whoever we want to get the bid, I want to remind you that state law dictates completely who's going to get this. You have no authority, no responsibility, no say-so in who gets a license, and without the license, none of this works. So there is no picking and choosing on anybody's part at the local government level. That choice will be made at the State Riverboat Gaming Commission, and so any kind of politics that anybody wants to play at the local level will not be sufficient to overcome the obligation and the authority and the legal basis for which those licenses are granted. So I think that the bottom line is that it would be a very wise and a very prudent course of action for this council simply to say this contract is basically the direction that we want to go. It could be subject to some changes as we modify or amend the process somewhere in the future as they continue to move forward to try and get a license. And you might have Mike Ponder come up and explain, if you have any questions about my understanding of the process, explain in detail exactly what has to transpire from here.
Councilman Fields?
I yield to Councilman Glasper for the clear up point.
Yeah, I just want to clear up a point. First of all, when I said that the public bid laws, I have documents, and I've done research, that when the Twin Towers was being considered, our honorable mayor was a Metropolitan Councilman at the time, and the question was raised about RFPs versus public bids, and I'll get to that in just a second. But let me just go back and say, you know, I've thought through this thing very clearly, and I understand that all these people signed off on it, and they've done this, and they've done that. But it seems that now they're looking from things from another view. And that's the way the constituents that I represent, have told me that they're looking at it from another view, and their view don't look the same as the other individuals. I just want to remind you of an article that was written on 2/5 of '86. Opposition to the proposal came from Councilman Tommy Ed McHugh of District 1 and Ben Peabody of District 11. I'm opposed to it, and my opposition to it is based on two basic points, McHugh said. We have the Capitol House Hotel and the Inn on the Lake down there that are already closed. Whether we are using local, state, or federal dollars to compete with private hotels, to me, it's insane. That's an article written 2-5. And that was about the Twin Towers deal, okay? And then to the question raised about public bid laws, if I go right here to 3, I can simply say Mr. Holliday, Jensen Holliday, who is a local businessman, been very active in the politics and also the business community. Holliday said it also appears that the city may be abusing the process of using requests for proposals instead of public bids on such items, allowing it to arbitrarily choose vendors or developers with which it wants to do business. Mr. Bill Little, who also was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, very active in politics, started what you call the whatever the political action committee. We think it's a bad example and sets a bad precedent. Clearly, this is what was the case, he said, of the hotel proposal. This doesn't build public confidence, and we wouldn't be able to build until the projects are, I guess, when he said dealing through the competitive and open to all qualified bidders. And so what I'm saying to here is that the proposal, the process of going out for RFPs versus publicly bidding the project to the highest bidder is that this was the same thing, was cited. I have articles here dealing with public, I know about the lawsuit, I've done all the research. All I'm saying to you, Mr. Mayor, is just that I look at it the same way you saw it when you were the council member, that I don't think that the hotel, we ought to be in the hotel business, that we ought to be allowed to use the public parking lot to build a hotel or to lease it out. Also, one of the main questions I'm through with the whole thing, and the council's going to do what they're going to do, because I'm going to tell you right now, I was not involved in the process, and I'm not mad or angry or anything. I just have constituents both in Spanish Town and Burgard Town that are very concerned that our employees, the parish attorney, is sit back and behind closed doors. They made this proposal and brought it to us, and we're going to sign off on it and give you authority, and we'll come back and modify it. One of the questions raised, and I want to raise this question to Al Gensler. There have been some controversy about the project because the Riverside Centralplex property was developed by the city parish under an urban renewal plan. The plan states that the land involved is for public use only, and that no division or subdivision shall be made for the express purpose of sale or lease to a private individual, corporation, or entity. The agreement between the city parish and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development restricts the use of urban renewal property. It was expropriated or purchased under the threat of expropriation for private individuals in the early 1970s. The urban renewal area takes in the governmental complex, including the Riverside Centralplex, parking garage, library, and other facilities. I'm going to simply say, you know, the council agrees to it, you can agree to it, I'm going to vote against it. I can simply tell you, Jazz got to be crazy to sign it. I mean, you know,
sorry.
Ma'am?
I think that probably it's better not to question the sanity of anyone involved in the process.
Well, when the paper said that when somebody calls something insane, I mean, I can question sanity. I mean, I wouldn't sign. That's insane to me. To sign something when the government, I mean, you're dealing with, you have a lot of questions need to be answered. I don't think that we ought to be going, I think we ought to delay this item today for 30 days until we can come back and talk about the issues that raised in this contract. And also I have articles when the Twin Towers was here, and I can read to you, and I don't think you're educated enough when I sit here and read it to you, where those individuals who opposed the Twin Towers said if it's good today, it'll be good next week, next month, and next year. So if this thing is so good today, then why not we just put it off for 20 days? Why not put it off for 30 days if it's so good? And so I make a motion that we defer this for 30 days. Thank you.
We have a motion by Councilman Glasper for a 30-day deferral. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Fields. Councilman Fields has the floor. Mayor McHugh would like an opportunity, I think, to respond, but Councilman Fields, would you?
Yes, sir. Sure would. Darrell, I want to thank you for reminding the public of where I stood on the Twin Towers. I think it was that stand on the Twin Towers that has a whole lot for me standing before you today as Mayor President, and I haven't changed my position one bit. I still think that the Twin Towers was insane because it required this government to ensure the success of the project financially. It required all kind of things that were not in the best interest of this government. And at that point, as you speak about those issues, it makes me look almost like a prophet. And I don't want to take credit for any prophecy here, but yes, the end on the lake is now vacant ground. and the Jack Tar Capitol House still remains closed, and the need was really not there. And had it not been for the riverboat gaming, the feasibility study that we did just recently would show that the need is still not here, some $14 million short. But what we're hearing now, and if I can recall from our comments before the Riverboat Gaming Commission, as we tried to limit it to just one boat, you said if one was good, two would be better. So I think what we find is that all the comments by Jensen, the comments by Bill Little, and all the issues raised on the Twin Towers were valid, legitimate, very, very well thought through opposition to a very bad project. And just like all of those were very valid issues towards that project, every one of those issues can be closely scrutinized on this project. There's not 1 cent of government money involved. There's no guarantees. And probably the only thing that you said that I agreed with so far is the fact that Jazz has to be insane to sign this. They really do. This is truly in the best interest entirely of the city parish government. I'm just using his words. At this point, what we have is a program and an issue in which we positioned ourselves as a government to take full advantage, to get every opportunity that we can for the best interest of the citizens of East Baton Rouge Parish. One of the main reasons that I oppose the Twin Towers is because the hotel-motel people made a tremendously valid argument on the basis that why should government spend its money, tax dollars that they help raise, to go in competition with the hotel-motel industry? That was their position on the Twin Towers. Their position on the riverfront development of a hotel to push Baton Rouge forward in tourism is they support it. As long as it's a 400 or approximately a 400-room convention-type hotel, they get tremendous benefit from the spillover. It's a well-thought-through, very well-considered plan, and in the long run, all the issues that you raised, Darrell, I want to thank you for them, because it just shows that we're right on target, we're right on the money, and that all the motivation that was good then is still good now. And as far as for requests for proposals versus bids, we will follow the state law to the letter of the law. My understanding is at the rate that, and we tried to get that law changed specifically as it related to riverboat gaming and was not successful, that anybody and everybody will be in a position to bid on this issue. Isn't that right, Mike? There can be nothing but low bid accepted. So someone can bid and get the property just as has happened in New Orleans almost, because of the state law on that issue. We will not be a party to that problem, but the state law will make us a party to that problem because we will have to follow the bidding procedures. There can be no sweetheart deals. There can be no deals cut. There can be no underhanded, under table. It can be none of that in this issue because we made sure in the process of setting up the process, because we know this council, you know this administration, and we don't want any part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Fields, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I came to the meeting today and I wanted to hear the talk in reference to the riverboat gaming, and I have some reservations in my mind in reference to whether or not we ought to go forward with it today. That's why I stuck in the motion for a 30-day deferment. And that comes about due to the fact that I received this proposal around Monday evening or Tuesday morning, and looked over and I have some reservations in my mind about some of the things in the contract. Councilman Glasper brought up a few things, but I want to ask Mike a question in reference to the 30-day delay process, and then also with the modification of the contract. Now, if this contract was approved off today and then we're saying that there may be some modifications to it, and those modifications will come back to the council? Yes,
sir. What we're asking you to do, Mr. Fields, is to give the mayor the authority to act under these guidelines here. This contract will be a guidelines, and you're saying that you agree in principle, at least, with the position that he's taken, with some modifications. Those modifications will be, as Mr. Glasper's proposed by all of you, I assume, and then we will discuss it, and then we'll modify the contract accordingly, and you will have to decide as a council what issues will be covered.
And I like that statement, Mr. Parish Attorney, because as we say, the modification would come from the council, and then we as a council would talk about it and look at it. But I see before me two agreements that I didn't put any input in per se in terms of what should go in the contract. Should we get $1.25 for them not building a hotel within 2 years, or should we get $2? So I think it'd be prudent if we do not sign off on this contract today and let all of us come together and whatever modification, Darrell may have some good modifications, Councilman Wilson may have some good modifications, I don't know. And then we could come back with a good, strong contract, and I'll feel comfortable about signing off on it. But in signing off on a blanket contract that, you know, they say we were in the process, but unless I was in school or not at the council meeting, which I've never missed a council meeting, I wasn't, you know, very informed on what was going on. I read the newspaper, but of course, you know, reading the newspaper is like hearing it from my 3-year-old niece. So I want to, in terms of hearing it from my 3-year-old niece, in terms of whatever information she gives me, but I want to be sure that we have a contract that the council comes up with, and a contract and an agreement that I can feel comfortable about in terms of signing off on. When I look at things in terms of riverboat gaming and other very important issues that have faced this council, sometimes we're left out the process, and information, it comes to us on a deadline kind of type of timetable, and say sign off on it. We the council, and it's going to have city parish on it, and you know, I just feel like we need to defer this thing for 30 days. Let us really look at what we're doing and look at what we're assigned, and then come back and maybe Jazz Enterprise is the best bidders for the project. And another question was raised in reference to the parking area on Centraplex parking lot. I remember about 2 months ago when we was dealing with a piece of property over on Plank Road, and the individual had already bidded on the process, and a year or so ago before I got to the council, and then something stopped the process. And we had to come back, and I was arguing the fact that, look, the gentleman has already bidded on the project, and we were at the point of signing the contract with him, then something happened to the process. And we said, no, we couldn't just let him have the property or let him be the individual to receive the property after he's paid a just cost. He had to go out on bid, and if someone else bid better than that individual, then he would not get the property. But that piece of property we were talking about was declared non-public use. Is the Centraplex parking lot declared non-public use, or are we not using that parking lot facility anymore?
Well, you have to go through the bid process, the RFP process, and one of the conditions of that, it has to be declared for non-public use. Now, we're going to, in connection with that, if the parking area is required to be used as parking, that could be part of the RFP process, where at least that much parking will have to be included in that same space as they build a hotel above it. I mean, those issues can certainly be resolved in that RFP process, and none of that was intended to be included in this contract here. We can't be that specific at this stage.
So any property that city parish owns, at any point in time, we can declare it for non-public use. And
well, you have to go through the RFP process, as you well know, Mr. Fields, and part of that is to declare it that. But again, the use of that property as a parking facility certainly can be accommodated with the additional construction there of as a hotel.
But basically, any property we want to declare non-public use, we could say non-public use, and it'll go through the RPF process, and whoever
assuming it meets the qualification, and what I just told you there, as far as continuing that property use as a public parking, and then using, say, the airspace above it as a hotel, will certainly meet the qualifications of RFP process.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion for a 30-day deferral. It has been seconded. We will vote on the machine. If you're in favor, vote green. If you're opposed, vote red. The motion fails. Councilman Wilson?
Ms. Allen, I would like to make a substitute motion.
It would be an original motion.
I'm sorry, an original motion, since that motion failed. And Mike, if you would stand to where we understand one another, and my motion will be the same thing that we had stated earlier, that we do go ahead and show the support of the mayor giving his backing to Jazz Enterprises, with the understanding that there are some reservations between some people and myself of the contract. We're not saying sign the contract, and the contract will not be signed until it comes back and is approved by the council for whatever modifications the council makes as a whole to it.
Yes, sir. And we're asking you to agree to this contract in principle as far as the general principles are concerned in the contract, but will be modified and addressed and agreed to by the majority of the council before it will be signed. Yes, sir.
We have a motion by Councilman Wilson. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Benham. Councilman Glasper.
I'd like to make a custom motion that we accept the contract with modifications that I put forward.
Have a substitute motion by Councilman Glasper.
With the amendments that I put forward.
With the amendments that he put forward, is there a second to the substitute motion? There's no second. The motion dies for a lack of a second. Councilman
Read the
Fields.
amendments.
Have a second by Councilman Fields to the substitute motion. Councilman Fields, did you want to speak?
I just want to ask the parish attorney one other question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any information in reference to where we at with the allegations that have been filed against Jazz Enterprise that AG's office is investigating?
I know the process of investigation by the Gaming Commission and all the other agencies required to do so is a continuing process. None of the applicants, as I understand, have met all their requirements. There are all type of allegations floating around, rumors, as you all know, where that stands as far as the district attorney, if that's what you're specifically asking. I do not know, no, sir.
Okay, we will vote on Councilwoman Eaton.
Is comments appropriate?
Certainly.
All right. I want to make this clear and be sure we all understand. There'll be no contract if the Jazz Enterprises isn't approved by the commission. I have find no fault, because I'm not even trying to judge your proposals today, Darrell. I think we need to, we all have some questions about the contract, but let's get through the commission approval or disapproval, and then we'll get this contract worked out. So I'm going to vote against yours, Darrell, but I'm going to vote for approval of the concept as it is now.
Councilman Glasper.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, member of the council, I think what I'm going to do, if with all right, Mr. Fields, I'll withdraw my comment. I just want to make a statement. You know, I guess I've probably been at the helm of a lot of controversy down here in city government, and not because I would like to, it's because I just feel that in the process that there's disparate treatment among some council members, and basically I'm being one. You know, you can do anything to me you want to, but this thing is affecting many 33,000 residents that I support and I represent. One of the things that you have to realize that I represent the district that's going to be most affected, and that when Ms. Joseph, and I'm not saying anything negative about you, done your job, and Mr. Benham, when the whole idea of putting a riverboat in River Bend was brought to the table, you all collectively got together and stopped it, even to the point of working together as individuals to best serve your constituents. And that's the only thing I'm doing here, is asking you for the same honor and respect that we've given you over the years, and stopping this until we can go through the process detail by detail. In Mississippi, African Americans was totally left out of the process. White women, black males, black females was totally left out the process. You know, no one want to bring up the fact that, you know, minority makeup. What the minority makeup means. We have to clarify some terms in this contract before we can move forward. And I'm telling you, they're going to be left out the process once again. And this is the most, I mean, and you're saying it's going to take care of itself. I understand that. But to me, minority residents and minority makeup can be interpreted on two different poles of the earth. But in one thing, I'm going to withdraw my motion, and I'm going to let the council do what they want to do and wish to do. But that's why I will continue to say that there's disparate treatment among this council, and has been disparate treatment. I feel that way. If it was your district, like it has been your district in the past, I've been able to work with you, support you until those items could be resolved, and then we will bring it to a vote. Today, time in and time out, that we've gotten contracts at a short period of time. We've asked to approve those contracts. We've asked to approve now, tended on the fact that the Gaming Commission is going to approve or not. Why give the authorization? And it's because you've got the power. You know, we just only make up numbers. And I can simply tell you the African Americans elected to this council make up numbers. But when it comes down to really getting down to the bare bones of getting something through, we are insignificant. And I feel that way based on the way we've been treated since January 2nd. So I withdraw my motion. Motion will pass. You will have the authorization to build a hotel. And I hope that the natural laws that we talked about earlier, you know, one thing about it is you can't change them. You won't be able to keep that quote up in the air. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Councilman Glasper, I would like to point out to you that you have not received disparate treatment as a council member, that you have received every consideration that the other council members have received, and that on the contrary, quite often you have not given council members the consideration of letting us know what's coming up in advance and trying to work with us. And I also would suspect that for the record we need to note that this may be a speech that was made in hopes of using it on the record for the suit against the city, and I would just like to put that on the record as a notation without any kind of comment or response, but just as a notation, so that in the suit that's used against the city, we will have a note that that is a possible reason for what was done. Councilman Glasper?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, members of the council, I want to go on record and say that was not a speech about a lawsuit. This is not about a lawsuit. This is about disparate treatment. This is about treatment that the council members receive, those that are from the African American community versus those from the white community. And I mean, just pure bare bones. When you have proposals, you can stop for 30 days. You can make sure that they accept it. And that's the way I feel. So I'm through with it. This has nothing to do with any lawsuit. Lawsuit has never been mentioned. I think the lawsuit will take care of itself. The facts will take care of itself. And all of my deal is when you're right, justice will prevail. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wilson. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wilson, second by Councilman Benham, to approve the item authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. We'll vote on the machine. The motion carries. We'll return now to the regular order on the agenda.